going to start by talking a little bit about Memorial Day, and hoping I don't say anything. I'm not a veteran. My dad was, but hoping I don't say anything like happy is what I'm not supposed to say, right? That was the word. Yes. And since I'm always so happy, everything is a happy celebration for the freedom, the joy that we get to experience today. But Memorial Day was originally established during the Civil War as a day of reflection and remembrance to honor those who died in military service for the United States of America. It's observed in part by a national moment of remembrance, which encourages all Americans to pause at 3 p.m. today for a moment of silence. And so I invite and encourage each one of us to, at 3 o'clock today, remember to pause and to give thanks, to honor those memories. Memorial Day is a good time to reflect on the principles that have been fought for: freedom and justice for all. We unitedly share a deep love and loyalty for these principles as a nation and as a global community. It has been said that a hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. In science of mind, we call that something bigger than oneself God, the One, which is of peace, joy, love, and freedom. There is a universal presence. And so this morning our title is, for the message, is called Memories and Remembering.
Well, for me, I think memories and remembering are kind of a twisty thing, because we're talking about past experiences brought into the now that have a definite influence on our now moment and our future hopes and dreams, and dragging the past into all the other time aspects of life can get kind of twisty. You know, I love the twisty phrases of Ernest Holmes, that's what I call them. And of course my favorite one, and I've shared it several times, you know, you're going to hear it again. Okay, my favorite Ernest Holmes quote is the twisty one. It says, "If we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. But when we believe that it cannot and will not, then according to principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not." Pretty twisty, isn't it?
And so true.
Yeah. Well, when we start talking about memories and remembering, it's kind of the same thing. We keep going back and forth between the past and the present, the future and the past and the future. And it gets all interwoven and together. And so it gets a little twisty and confusing. Well, I think we maybe try to sort that out a little bit by saying that really they're all of the same essence. Memory is an effect. It's an experience after the fact, and it's a result of a previous action. Remembering is a cause. It's bringing about a current experience. And it may be a result of a past effect that we're thinking about that brings about a current effect in our lives. So there we go with the twistiness. In science of mind, we know that thoughts are creative. That's a basic tenet of our teaching, and the entire philosophy of science of mind is founded on the idea that what we think about, we bring about. So if we choose to think about the past and the memories, we choose past conditions and effects to become current experiences. The past has no particular validity or reality to us unless we choose to bring it into our current life experience. The past is nothing more than old effects lying dormant until we bring them to life with current thought. The choosing or the choice is the cause, because we have infused a random thought with intention. That is what initiates the creative process and brings about ideas, brings our ideas into a current reality. The memory was an effect at its original point of time, And once it's brought into our experience again, it is still an effect in its reincorporated experience. As we recall the memory, when we recall a memory and attach attention to it or emotion to it, we activate universal law and breathe life into that old memory. Remember, we don't have to operate, or actually remember that we do not operate in the realm of effect. We operate at the level of cause. You are always at choice to live in a state of cause rather than effect.
And so, with that in mind, let's look at an idea from Ernest Holmes. He has a video that is entitled, Remember This. And I love that whenever the reflections, we don't have a clue what the reflection and readings are going to be, but I love how both of you brought to mind the same thing that we're going to talk about today with regard to this. So thank you once again. I just love that and how that works in life and recognizing it. So I'm going to paraphrase and share some thoughts and ideas from what Ernest Holmes is talking about. Remember this. And he's talking mostly about, in my humble opinion, the idea of always remembering the truth, regardless of the circumstances. Always remembering the truth of life and its flow, so that we are in touch with what we are thinking about. So in this video, he's talking about why we feel insecure. And he says that it's a fact that it begins in our early life. And David kind of alluded to that too, those ideas of memories. We need an emotional security and a balance in our life. We must, each one of us, feel wanted, needed, and loved. Our mind enters into a conflict with itself as though it's trying to figure out what's wrong. When something happens, what's wrong? And we have a strong understanding that we have a body, because when we're born, we have it. And because we think, we understand that we have a mind. These thoughts that we have, along with the emotions that result from our thoughts, affect our body. They affect our lives. They affect, with that ripple out that we've talked about the last couple of weeks, that ripple out effect. The good news, we can change our thoughts and we can remold our thoughts. We don't have to go into denial. We can simply take the thought and figure out what we desire for it to be, what we want to think, so that we create that which we desire in our life or in our body. What we need is our spiritual self. Our source is always God. And for me, I'm going to say my source is always the universal consciousness that is. And from that great big universal warehouse, we get to choose the thought that we want to think. There is a spiritual element about us, and we must come to realize that that is our truth. We only feel our wholeness when we realize our spiritualness. Holmes says a feeling of inferiority robs people of their joy. So let us examine our own minds. I'll share some ideas, but each of you take it personally for how it shows up with you in whatever's going on today. There is nowhere else for us to look for our security than in spiritual things. spiritual ideas. Our security is dependent upon our understanding of our own personal spiritual nature. We can make the supreme discovery of the relationship that you and I have with the Spirit of God. No one is going to be happy if he or she feels insecure. We must use faith and confidence. We must absolutely know that we are rooted in the divine. We must become the harmony and the rhythm of the universe by living in the consciousness of God, living as if God is acting through you. Remember this. Now, this was perfect for me. I hope it speaks to you, but it was perfect for me because after the week I've had and all the uncertainty that has been playing out in my life and our lives, our family's life this week, we know the importance of remembering this, remembering truth. So our plan for our sabbatical to travel beginning this week has been a bit uprooted, but those God roots are still secure. First, this week was my final week in a 30-year teaching career, 48 years if you allow me to go back to owning a dance studio and teaching dance for 18 years. So that alone could be enough to bring a roller coaster of emotions and insecurities. However, then my wonderful, darling, amazing, incredible husband had a car accident. Most importantly, as you can see, he was not hurt. And even though everyone around us said, "He won't go to the doctors, well, just wait till tomorrow." No, he's fine. He immediately contacted our prayer team, thank you, and put them right to work because we have a powerful prayer team. And nothing. He wasn't hurt, and that in and of itself is a miracle, and absolutely one that I am first and foremost grateful for. However, the truck that we were going to go on our trip with didn't fare as well. It looks like it's going to be totaled. And then, on top of dealing with all this, our daughter called and she was at the emergency room. And so I went to see her, and then a couple days later she had to return again. They don't know what it is, but we do. We know that it's something that's passing through. We know that it's moving on its way to the nothingness from whence it came, because we absolutely know she is whole, complete, and perfect, just as she is. And so the prayer team has been really busy for our family this week, and don't think for a moment that they left any of you out, because they never do. There's always enough room for all those prayers. So what a joy it is to know absolutely, and for me to read those words and watch that video from Ernest Holmes, because this science of mind, spirit, and teaching is just the most incredible thing that could ever touch your life. It is life transforming. And it's not something that you go in and read and go, "Oh, got it, ready to go." It is something that because we live in this human self and we get to experience so much, we are going to experience so much. I told a friend this week who was in a not a really good space, I said, well, just remember this, it always goes on that spectrum, so to the degree that you can go to that place of sadness, you can equalize it with a heightened awareness of joy, because that's the way life works. And so remembering that our security rests in our understanding and our complete faith in the power greater than we are, that we call God, consciousness, life itself, whatever word you choose. And so now we can remember this truth in every now moment, or not, because the choice is entirely up to each one of us. As Ernest Holmes says, it's up to you.
Our memories are unconscious thoughts until we choose to interact with them. You know, they're like books neatly filed away on the bookshelf, or they're like files in the file cabinet or in our internal memory banks until we choose to interact with them or to entertain them, to read them or to use them. We bring our unconscious thoughts and desires to the surface and continuously choose which ones we wish to bring into manifestation. That's how life works. Our current mental conditions and our current states of mind are manifestations brought into being as a result of our thoughts and beliefs. It's really just that simple. The origin of the thoughts, whether they're from memory or from the infinite realm of possibility, doesn't really matter. The universal law doesn't care where the thought came from. It simply responds to the intention that we set with it to bring it into our awareness. So here's an important question. How do you intend to use your memories? To me, it feels sometimes like I'm cleaning out my file cabinet in spring cleaning or at tax season, and I go through my file cabinet and pull out everything I don't really need anymore, bundle it all together. Some of it I shred and some of it I just put away for future possibilities. But I feel like I'm starting off with a clean slate. I can choose to go back and read all that stuff. Believe me, I don't. And most of the stuff that I filed for future reference is in the bottom drawer of the file cabinet that I never open except once a year. But it's there. But it's important to remember that all of our conditions, particularly our memories, are only as strong or influential as the mindset holding them in place. As soon as we change our mindset, as soon as we change our thoughts, they lose their place. And we can choose to bring them back, or we can just let them go and start to enter the nothingness from whence they came. Ernest Holmes says, all aspects of our past life are experiences buried, but buried alive in our memory. Yesterday can have no reality to us other than our reaction to it. So how are you reacting to your memories? Another question. What is possible for us and what we identify or claim as us and what shows up as us are all omnipresent realities, and all of them are possibilities in the mind of God, all of them, waiting for interaction with us to become manifest in the world. So, because we exist in this infinite, eternal universe, there is no time or space. We know prayer is non-local, is not influenced by distance or bound by time. Maybe we could say that time and space are illusions, or just that they're states of mind. If God is omnipresent, equally present in all space, there is no spot where God is not. We've heard that. And likewise, if God is omniscient, all-knowing, the full wisdom of the universe is equally present in every moment. Since time and space are inextricably interwoven, there is no time when God is not. So there is no spot where God is not. There is no time when God is not. That includes our memories, since our memories are based in a concept of time. Maybe it's all just in the eternal now. Maybe not even just maybe. It is. So the key to all this, and the personal application that you can work around this with, is that the memories from the past, the surety of the present, and all hopes for the future are bound in the eternal now. Now is the only time we can experience them, and now is the only time we can make changes that will influence our past, our future, and our present.
I want to go back to one of the statements that David made. It really touched me, and it was, our memories are only as strong as our thoughts holding them in place. And I want us to think for just a moment about what we would call good memories versus bad memories. Now, obviously, when we go and think about all the good memories, like at the beginning of the day when everyone was hugging each other and smiling and welcoming new guests and being grateful for people coming in, it feels really good. That is now a happy memory. It is a joy-filled memory. We can think about those hugs and the smiles and feeling supported by one another each and every day. And it's valuable. But what about when one of those ugly ones rears its head? What do we do with those? Do we hold them in place or not? So the practice of this science of mind teaching is so valuable because it teaches us how to remold those, what we would term as bad memories, so that we don't go into denial of them. We don't deny that David's car is probably totaled. We don't deny that my daughter has something physically going on, or that I'm an emotional roller coaster right now. We don't deny those things, but we don't allow them to be so dominant, other than to take care of them, that we create more of them.
Yeah, so how much are you interacting, giving them power, responding, reacting?
So when I got the message, I got it over the loudspeaker that you need to call your husband immediately. And I want to tell you, 22 little heads, 44 little eyeballs, all turned to me. We were having game day, because it's near the end of the year, and I was playing game with them. And they all turned to look at me. And I knew instantly, God within me is leading the way. And so I went and I called him, and he was able to talk, and he was able to walk, but he wasn't able to talk with me for long, so I knew really nothing other than he was able to talk and able to walk. That told me he was in pretty good shape. So I got off the phone and put it down, and of course the whole room was silent. They were listening, they were watching. And I'm walking back over, and the whole time they're just watching. And so I knew I couldn't just say nothing. They knew, they heard me, they heard her and the panic in her voice.
And of course they all know me.
And yes, because he comes in and works with them. So I simply said, because I can't say, hey, let's all have a prayer right now in public schools. So what I said was, okay, I'm going to tell you as much as I know, which is Mr. Stork is walking, he's talking. That tells me he's in pretty good shape. The rest of it we'll have to learn later because I don't know either, but we'll find out later more information. But what I can tell you is that right now he does not need any of us in panic mode. What he needs is for us to all see him. He's always laughing and joking and having a good time. We are going to see him like that, and we are going to know that everything unfolds perfectly for him in your own way as we go back to playing our games. And I sat down and began playing with the group I was playing with. Now, does that mean that everything was gone from me? No, but it does mean that I knew what I had to do in the moment. And there are many moments in which we can cry, or in which we can let loose with whatever thoughts are coming to mind, or we can remold the situation. I cannot tell you how many of those children went home and told their parents about it, and their parents texted that night to say that they were praying. And one of the moms told me that 2 of the boys, when I sent them on an errand, prayed together as they walked on the errand. Now, that's something to have tears over, tears of joy. That is so important in the world. And that is what we came here to do. To trust so much in Spirit that regardless of circumstances, we find the path. And let us end today with a quote from our founder. Our thoughts go out from us, and then they return to us as a memory.